The landscape is shifting rapidly, and we have all the juicy, dramatic details prepared just for you. Today is shaping up to be yet another completely chaotic and unpredictable day in the notoriously dramatic town of Fairmont Crest. So let us gather around and meticulously dissect all the impending troubles, corporate power struggles, and life-threatening schemes that are about to explode. The atmosphere in this town has always been thick with ambition and deceit, but the current circumstances have elevated the tension to an entirely unprecedented level. At the very center of this swirling vortex of drama is a high-stakes corporate law firm, a massive fortune hanging in the balance, and a group of deeply flawed, fiercely determined individuals who are willing to cross almost any moral boundary to secure their desires. As we peel back the layers of these intertwined storylines, it becomes abundantly clear that loyalty is a highly perishable commodity, and trust is the most dangerous vulnerability a person can possess. Let us begin by examining the dark, calculating, and utterly ruthless machinations of Haley. For weeks, Haley has been meticulously crafting a sinister plan to isolate Bill, but we have just learned that her highly anticipated travel itinerary has been abruptly and permanently canceled. She had desperately hoped to whisk Bill away on an exclusive, secluded getaway far from the prying eyes of his colleagues and medical professionals. Her ultimate goal for this trip was not romance, relaxation, or bonding. Rather, it was a deeply malicious plot to finish the job once and for all. Haley has her eyes firmly fixed on a staggering, life-altering prize, Bill's incredibly lucrative $10 million life insurance policy. In her twisted mind, a quiet tragedy during a private vacation would have been the perfect cover story, allowing her to mourn publicly as a grieving partner while privately cashing in a massive fortune. However, fate had a completely different and much more dramatic plan in store, completely derailing her murderous timeline. The catalyst for this sudden disruption was a terrifying medical emergency that struck without any prior warning. Bill, who had been pushing himself to the absolute limit amidst the crushing pressures of his legal empire, suffered a massive and sudden physical collapse right in the middle of the bustling law office. The scene was one of sheer, unadulterated panic as the powerful man, who usually commanded every room he entered, crumbled to the floor, entirely incapacitated and fighting for his very survival. This was not merely a moment of weakness. It was a catastrophic failure of his health that threatened to end his life right then and there, far away from the isolated trap that Haley had been so carefully setting for him. The sterile, highly professional environment of the law firm was instantly transformed into a frantic, chaotic emergency room, with the fate of the firm's most pivotal figure hanging by the thinnest of threads. In a twist of fate that completely ruined Haley's carefully laid plans, it was Bill's dedicated and fiercely observant assistant, Caroline, who emerged as the unexpected hero of the hour. Caroline, who has always possessed an uncanny ability to anticipate Bill's needs and monitor the pulse of the office, happened to be in the exact right place at the exact right time. Recognizing the severity of the situation instantly, she sprang into action with a level of composure and efficiency that was nothing short of miraculous. Caroline rushed to Bill's side, provided immediate and critical medical assistance, and ensured that the paramedics were dispatched with the utmost urgency. Her lightning-fast reflexes and unwavering dedication to her boss were the sole reasons Bill was pulled back from the brink of death. She saved him just in the nick of time, proving that her value to Bill extends far beyond managing his schedule and answering his phone calls. While Caroline's heroic intervention earned her the profound gratitude of everyone who actually cares about Bill's well-being, it had the exact opposite effect on Haley. The fact that Caroline managed to save Bill's life has caused Haley's already simmering disdain for the assistant to boil over into a deeply entrenched, venomous hatred. In Haley's calculating eyes, Caroline is no longer just an annoying, overly efficient subordinate. She is a massive, highly dangerous obstacle standing directly between Haley and her $10 million payout. Every time Haley looks at Caroline now, she sees the person who single-handedly thwarted her path to unimaginable wealth. This burning resentment is festering within Haley, making her increasingly volatile and unpredictable. The dynamic between these two women has shifted from mere workplace friction to a silent, deadly war, with Haley undoubtedly plotting new ways to eliminate any interference Caroline might pose in the future. As Bill remains hospitalized, embarking on a long, arduous, and highly uncertain road to recovery, a massive power vacuum has opened up at the very top of his prestigious law firm. The halls of the office, once governed by Bill's unquestionable authority and decisive leadership, are now echoing with the quiet, urgent whispers of uncertainty and ambition. Without their central pillar of strength, the firm is vulnerable, and the corporate sharks are beginning to circle. The daily operations, high-stakes negotiations, and critical legal strategies cannot simply be put on hold while the boss recuperates. This incredibly tense environment has set the perfect stage for a brutal, no-holds-barred power struggle among the remaining heavyweights in the office. The question of who will steer the ship during this tumultuous storm has become the single most pressing issue, completely overshadowing the very real tragedy of Bill's critical health condition. Stepping boldly into this gaping void is Naomi, a woman whose intelligence, ambition, and legal prowess are matched only by her fierce determination to succeed. Naomi is currently assuming an increasingly important, highly visible role at the law office, effectively taking the reins of the empire in Bill's absence. It is crucial to note that this is not a hostile takeover in the traditional sense. Prior to his devastating collapse, Bill had explicitly chosen Naomi to manage the firm's critical operations, recognizing her exceptional capabilities and strategic mind. Armed with this prior mandate, Naomi feels entirely justified in her current actions. She views herself as the rightful guardian of the firm's legacy, the only person capable of keeping the business afloat and thriving while Bill is incapacitated. However, her rapid ascension and assertive management style are sending massive shockwaves throughout the entire organization, ruffling feathers and igniting deep-seated insecurities among her peers. The person most acutely affected and deeply offended by Naomi's rapid rise to power is Tomas. For years, Tomas has considered himself to be an indispensable asset to the firm and a fiercely loyal confidant to Bill. He has poured his blood, sweat, and tears into building the business, expecting that his unwavering dedication would be rewarded with ultimate authority in times of crisis. Therefore, Bill's prior decision to bypass him and select Naomi to run the operations felt like a staggering, deeply personal betrayal. Now, with Bill fighting for his life, Tomas feels that his role has been completely marginalized and his contributions severely undervalued. He is watching from the sidelines as Naomi commands the respect and authority that he believes rightfully belongs to him. This profound sense of being slighted is eating away at Tomas, transforming his professional frustration into a deeply personal, burning resentment that is threatening to consume his every waking thought. Tomas's frustration is particularly exacerbated by what he perceives as Naomi's blatant, almost arrogant display of dominance around the office. He is exceptionally annoyed whenever Naomi appears in the executive suites, specifically hovering around Bill's personal office and his designated areas. To Tomas's highly critical and suspicious eyes, Naomi is not merely managing the firm's affairs, she is systematically and deliberately marking her territory. He watches as she confidently makes sweeping decisions, reassigns resources, and interacts with high-profile clients from the very desk that Bill was forced to abandon just days prior. Tomas views these actions as highly opportunistic and deeply disrespectful, a calculated maneuver by Naomi to solidify her grip on the firm, while the true leader is completely unaware and unable to defend his own throne. The physical space of the office has thus become a symbolic battleground for their escalating Cold War. The tension between Naomi and Tomas has been steadily building, layering grievance upon grievance until it has finally reached an absolute breaking point. The atmosphere in the office is incredibly toxic, with every passing glance and brief interaction loaded with unspoken hostility. Tomas can no longer contain his boiling anger. He has convinced himself that Naomi is exploiting a tragic situation for her own selfish, unchecked career advancement. He feels a moral obligation, twisted by his own bruised ego, to step in and halt what he perceives as her aggressive power grab. The inevitable confrontation is no longer a matter of mere speculation, but rather a matter of immediate certainty. The entire staff can feel the impending explosion, tiptoeing around the two warring factions as the corporate environment transforms into a highly volatile powder keg, just waiting for a single spark to ignite a massive, destructive inferno. That spark is about to ignite in a spectacular fashion, leading to an incredibly intense and deeply personal confrontation between the two legal titans. Tomas is set to aggressively confront Naomi, cornering her and unleashing all of his pent-up frustrations. He will fiercely question her motives, directly accusing her of moving entirely too fast and acting with a shocking lack of empathy while Bill is still hovering in a deeply critical, life-threatening condition. Tomas will argue that her aggressive maneuvers are not only inappropriate but wildly disrespectful to the man who built the firm. He will attempt to use Bill's precarious health as a moral weapon, trying to shame Naomi into backing down and relinquishing the immense power she has accumulated. This clash will be loud, raw, and completely unvarnished, exposing the deep fractures and fundamental differences in how these two individuals view loyalty, leadership, and survival in the corporate jungle. However, anyone expecting Naomi to simply wilt under Tomas's intense pressure is going to be severely disappointed. Naomi is not a woman who backs down from a fight, especially when she believes she is entirely in the right. She will immediately and forcefully react to Tomas's accusations, firing back with a ferocity that will undoubtedly catch him off guard. Naomi will adamantly refuse to accept Tomas's attempts to control her, dictate her actions, or undermine the explicit authority that Bill himself bestowed upon her. She will make it abundantly clear that she is not a placeholder or a subordinate to be managed by a bruised ego. She is the chosen leader of the firm, and she will do whatever it takes to protect the business and maintain her rightful position. Naomi's fierce independence and unwavering confidence will turn this confrontation into an absolute battle of wills, with neither side willing to concede even a single inch of ground. In summary, the core of this monumental struggle boils down to two deeply entrenched, fundamentally opposing viewpoints. On one side, Naomi is desperately trying to maintain absolute control, firmly believing that her strong, decisive leadership is the only thing preventing the firm from descending into total chaos. She is actively protecting her hard-earned position and executing the mandate she was given. On the other side, Tomas is drowning in a sea of resentment, genuinely feeling that Bill's legacy is being callously pushed aside and that Naomi is ruthlessly exploiting this tragic moment of weakness to permanently consolidate her own power. Because both individuals are operating from a place of deep conviction and massive ego, this upcoming encounter is guaranteed to be one of the most direct, explosive, and consequential face-to-face showdowns we have ever witnessed between the two of them. The fallout from this argument will undoubtedly ripple through the entire firm, forcing everyone to take sides. Tragically, Bill remains the helpless, silent figure trapped squarely in the middle of this vicious war. He is the sun around which all these ambitious planets revolve, yet he is currently entirely powerless to stop them from colliding. The brutal reality of the situation is that the longer Bill's severe health crisis persists, the more time and space there is for this bitter power dispute at the office to escalate completely out of control. Every day that Bill spends in a hospital bed fighting for his next breath is another day that the foundations of his beloved firm are eroded by internal strife and petty jealousies. The irony is absolutely palpable. The very people who claim to be protecting his interests and honoring his legacy are the ones actively tearing his empire apart from the inside out, blinded by their own relentless pursuit of dominance and recognition. As we look toward the future of Fairmont Crest, a massive overarching question remains hanging ominously in the air. Will Tomas ever be able to set aside his bruised ego, let go of his petty, destructive jealousy toward Naomi, and finally open his eyes to the true danger lurking in the shadows? Will he realize, before it is entirely too late, that Naomi is merely a professional rival, while the actual lethal threat to Bill's life is none other than Haley? Haley is still out there, her heart filled with venom and her mind constantly calculating new ways to secure her $10 million prize. If Tomas and Naomi continue to waste their energy destroying each other, they will leave Bill completely exposed to a predator who has already proven she is willing to kill for wealth. The clock is ticking, the stakes have never been higher, and the drama in Fairmont Crest is only just beginning to reach its boiling point.